65,345 is where Bitcoin is. And it does actually look like there is a massive shift happening, actually a series of shifts happening. There is one shift that shows us that we're moving into the next part of the crypto bull market. Big shift. Then there's another shift that is moving to another narrative, and we're going to look at that narrative. And then there's a third shift, which is moving to a new ecosystem and a whole lot of coins in that new ecosystem. So today is actually all about shifts, because if you can read the shifts in the market and you can shift your money accordingly, then you will never have to work shifts in your life ever again. Today is all about shifts. Yo. Today is all about shifts and making sure that we, the Banter fam, never, ever have to work shifts ever again in our lives. So if you're new to our channel, welcome. Smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, because this is the one channel that will make sure that you never have to work ever again. And it's going to happen pretty soon, because I'm going to show you of a whole lot of shifts that are happening in the market. And if you know how to keep your eyes on these shifts in the market, because if you can identify shifts and you can identify where the money is shifting to, if you can identify where the trends are shifting to, all the moves in the markets, if you can identify those and you can shift your money accordingly, then you'll never have to work shifts ever again in your entire life. So it's going to be a massive show. Subscribe to our channel, because when you subscribe to our channel, you join the best community in crypto. I say the best, the most profitable, the closest community in crypto. If you were part of our community and you won some of those StarLaunch tokens, they are worth $5.61, which means you're up 90 times your money. 90 times your money. I want to know something. Hold on. Stop the music. I want to ask you, do you think that BitBoy has ever given his community anything that's gone up 90 times? Nope. So subscribe to our channel, because this is a channel where your money goes up 90 times. The things that we give you go up 90 times. And you want to talk about something that's going to go up 90 times? Look at our new Banter Bags. We are launching the new Banter Bags. It's time. It's time to launch the new Banter Bags. No, let's try that again. When I say the Banter Bags, you have to put up the Banter Bags. So let me show you. We are launching the new Banter Bags. You see, there we go. There. Let's try that again. Okay, take it off the screen. I think the producers are smoking something today. She was. Okay, let's try that again. So not only did StarLaunch go up 90 times, but we're also launching the new Banter Bags. Put up the towel. There we go. Towel is up. Now talk about the Banter Bag. So this is going to be the biggest giveaway in history, in crypto history. The last time we did a Banter Bag, it was also the biggest giveaway in history. At the time, I think we gave away like $2.5 million. I think this one can be $20 million. All you need to do to win the Banter Bags is be a subscriber. It's as simple as that. All you need to do, subscribe to the channel. When we get to 700,000 subscribers, which is going to be very soon at the rate that we're growing at like 5,000 subscribers a day. So it's going to be super quick. When we get to 700,000 subscribers, we give away the Banter Bags to the community. And as you can see, the first Banter Bag that we have is Monkey Ball. Monkey Ball gave us $1,000 to put into the Banter Bag. Now, let's say hypothetically that Monkey Ball does 90x. That's $90,000 that's going to go into the Banter Bags. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a whole lot of other tokens in the Banter Bags, right? And we're just going to give it away to the community. But this time, we're going to be a lot more fair than we were last time, because a lot of people complained last time that we weren't fair. They said, oh, you only give the Banter Bags to people who watch the live show. So we're going to have a split between the live show and the people in the comments, in the YouTube comments, and subscribers that are subscribers but can't comment or can't watch live. So all of you will be considered, and we'll tell you guys how we're giving away the Banter Bags. What I can guarantee you is it's going to be the biggest giveaway in crypto history. The last one was the biggest giveaway in crypto history. To date, we are the channel that has given away more money than any other channel in the world. I can tell you that is a fact. That's a fact, Jack. Okay? It feels weird because I'm like talking to you guys, but actually what I'm talking into is this. So you think I'm actually looking away at I'm actually talking to another camera, which is kind of weird. Weird setup. I don't know why we do this. Anyway, so I'll pretend that I'm talking to another camera and talk to you guys. But it is going to be the biggest giveaway in crypto history. So if you want to be a part of that, all you need to do is subscribe to the channel. Banter Bags are going to the moon. Somebody here says Banter Bags are going to the moon because he knows it. We are going to make history. I guarantee you. We made history last time. We're going to make history again this time because that's what we do. I said, let's make history. Let's break records. Let's just, you see, when I woke up this morning, actually the first tweet that I did this morning, look here. I didn't even know what we were going to do today. And the first tweet that I did this morning, the first tweet, I woke up in the morning, I said, you know what, let's, wait, let me show you this tweet, because then you know I'm not actually making this shit up. You see, I woke up this morning and I said, you know what, this is a week where we need to break records. We've already broken the records in terms of the number of people and the amount of money we've given away on the channel. Let's break more records this week. Let's break records. Let's just break records. While I was looking for this tweet, I want to actually show you another tweet, which is a very cool tweet. If I read this, and I couldn't help but think that if you read this article, so it says Bank of England's John Cunliffe says Bitcoin is a threat to Bitcoin threat to financial stability is getting closer. Deputy Governor warns regulators must act before crypto assets become a major risk. And I said, what if we just change the word threat to opportunity? It says Bank of England's John Cunliffe says Bitcoin's opportunity to financial stability is getting closer. See, some people see something as a threat. Other people see it as an opportunity. And the people that see it as an opportunity, those are the ones that make life-changing money. Those are also the people that are watching the show right now and that are hitting the subscribe button because they see the opportunity to win the Banter Bags. That's what's happening here. They see the opportunity to win the Banter Bags. So, let's get into the show. And let's talk about never working shifts again, ever in our lives again. And if you want to never work shifts in your life again and never even talk about shifts again in your life, what do you need to do? Well, you need to look to the shifting narratives. You need to understand where the money is shifting from, where the narratives are shifting from. And whereas we are in a position, if you believe tech dev, and I must say I do believe tech dev, okay, that we are here, what you will notice is that there are some other shifts happening in the market. There are a lot of other shifts happening in the market. The one shift that's happening in the market is this shift over here, and I want to show you this. Whales are moving. BTC whales are moving. It's the largest moving I've seen since 2017, excluding outliers. The average transaction amount skyrocketed like 5x, and it seems that most transactions don't come from exchanges. What does this mean? It means that whales are moving money over the counter. They're moving money OTC. So what you look at here is you look at 2017, and there was a period in 2017 when the whales started to move stuff OTC. And that same period is happening right over here. In 2017, when this happened, it happened just before the parabolic bull run. You can see that it was about here in 2017, and it's happening again right now, right in front of our eyes. So look again, whales are starting to move stuff. It's not moving on exchanges. So if you look, let's quickly go to CryptoQuant and actually look at this. The money is not moving on exchanges. It's whales moving huge OTC deals, okay? So yeah, whales are moving these. I'm not going to show you that, okay? So whales are moving huge OTC deals at the moment. And the last time that this happened, we went absolutely parabolic. So that's the one shift that is happening. Whales are shifting tokens amongst themselves, amongst their accounts, and doing a lot of OTC deals. Another shift is that even though we had this leverage shakeout, which, by the way, I'm not convinced of this leverage shakeout. This is like a little leverage shakeout, like shake. That wasn't for me a leverage shakeout. But the problem is that I can't argue anymore, because even though there is high leverage in the market, the leverage rates of funding are coming down. And that's another thing that William Clemente pointed. He said, look, he said that BTC funding rates have calmed down across the board. A lot of greed in the Bitcoin market has been neutralized for now. So what we're seeing is we're seeing a high leverage, but the demand for more leverage, and that's, you can almost call that the acceleration of leverage, is calming down. So what you can see is that people are leveraged, but they're not rushing to leverage more. For those of you who don't know what funding rates are, funding rates show the demand for money that you need to borrow to go long or short. When there are more buyers, they need to borrow more money to go long, to buy stuff. When there are more sellers, they need to sell less, to sell more money. So when the funding rates are high, it means people are borrowing uncontrollably. And what we're seeing is that the shakeout that we had, even though it wasn't like a real shakeout, it was just like a small shakeout. I'm not convinced by it. I'm not convinced by that shakeout. I'm saying it here live in public. I am not convinced by that last shakeout. But what you can see is that people aren't being greedy pigs anymore. So they're not aping into leverage anymore. They have calmed down. And what I think is going to happen is, I think because the leverage is quite high here, I think the leverage is actually even going to go higher. I think the leverage is going to go higher, but not at an accelerating pace. Now, what we want is that's exactly what we want. We want leverage to move at a steady pace, not an accelerating pace. So because that means that the market is much more sustainable. We're also then seeing another shift, another very, very good shift. So one shift is that the whales are shifting their coins. Two is that there's a shift and people aren't aping into information, into funding anymore. But the third one is this one. This is the one that I saw it on Friday or Saturday, and it blew me away. And I said, we have to actually talk about this on the show. Long-term holders of Bitcoin, they buy into weakness and sell into strength. Now, what you can see is that when they start selling, it's usually the beginning of a parabolic bull run, and they sell right through the bull run, and this can take months. In fact, the last time it's happened, it went from November to March. That's a long time. And then when do they start buying again? They start buying again over here. They start buying again in cycles. And what you can see is that we've had the first of these red wicks. So these guys are starting to sell. Now, again, usually when they start to sell, they sell for a long time over the bull cycle. And that's exactly what's happening. So now they're starting to sell, which is another confirmation that we're actually entering into this bull market. The last time that this happened, Bitcoin went up another 350%. That was in 2017. So the last time that they started selling, Bitcoin went up 350% in 2017. And now they are starting to sell all over again. So another sign that shows us that we may be on the right track, and that we may be on the right track, and that these whales are actually starting to sell. And we track the whale activity. And again, it's just another sign that points to a parabolic bull run. Now, every night before I go to bed, I keep saying to myself, please find me an indicator that shows that we're not going to be going to a parabolic bull run. Because everyone's talking about this parabolic bull run, and when everyone talks about something, one of two things can happen. Either that is the mass expectation and that's already priced into the price. That's one option. The other thing is, because so many people are talking about it, it could be a creation of a narrative. So if we all say there's going to be a parabolic bull run in Q4, then because we all say it and enough of us say it, then that could be actually the reason why we are going to get a parabolic bull run in Q4. So I keep looking and saying, what could crash these markets? Is it going to be regulation, legislation? I keep looking for all different things that disprove this theory about this parabolic bull run, and I can't find anything to disprove this theory. In fact, what I'm seeing is I'm just seeing shifts. I'm just seeing shifts that reiterate that we're actually very, 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 very much on the right track. Let's talk about some of those shifts. And I think whereas a lot of them are fundamental, on-chain, whales shifting between wallets, leverage rates shifting, whales starting to sell, which is again a fundamental shift in the market. Hold on one second. think I might have Colombian flu. Portugal was hard. You guys think it was easy out there. It was hard. Portugal was hard. Anyway, so whereas a lot of the shifts, you can actually see them on chain or you can see them in the charts. There are some shifts that you actually have to tune in a bit deeper. Now, one of the shifts that you're seeing is you're seeing a shift in billionaires, and you're seeing a shift in their mindset and where they spend their time. I don't know if you remember when I interviewed Kevin O'Leary in Miami. I wonder if we still have that video up here. Let's have a look here. I might actually still even have that video. Oh, we don't. But anyway, when I interviewed Kevin O'Leary in Miami, I asked him, how much of your money is in Bitcoin? He said like 2 or 3%. I said, well, how much of your time is in Bitcoin? And he said 85 or 90% of my time is spent in crypto. And that is what you're seeing. You're seeing that there is a shift in the mindset of billionaires. And I don't know if you guys watch this. And if you don't watch this, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you watch this. It's a weekly podcast. And the podcast is a podcast with 4, I think they're all billionaires. Yeah, in fact, I know for sure they're all billionaires. It's called the All In Podcast. It's one of the only podcasts that I can watch in single speed. Usually I watch all podcasts in double speed, but this you actually have to watch in single speed. Now, the reason why this is so important is because what you hear here is you hear a conversation between 4 billionaires once a week. And they talk about everything that's important to them or that they're involved in. And look at this week's episode. So on this week's episode, by the way, let's break the All In Podcast subscribers. So go to YouTube now, break the All In Podcast, let them ask, who broke our podcast numbers? And then we'll just say Crypto Banter, and that's the strength of the Crypto Banter community. And then maybe we can get these billionaires onto our show, because then they realize just how strong the Banter community is. So go to, they've got 101,000 subscribers. By the time that this show is finished, I expect you guys to fuck up their numbers so badly, okay, that they think that they must look and go, whoa. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. But the reason why I wanted to show you this is because look at what they talk about in the first minute of the podcast.
Portugal.
Great.
Great. Okay. You're having folks.
I was fully drinking the Kool-Aid at the Solana conference. It wasn't heroin, it was Kool-Aid.
It was literally Kool-Aid. How many people were at the Solana conference in Portugal? Why is it in Portugal? What happens at a Solana crypto conference?
I think there were thousands of people there, and it was, easily. And it was kind of a madhouse, and people were trying to get in last minute. Nobody could get in because the conference was like totally sold out. It was a lot of crypto developers, a lot of people with projects. And why Portugal? I think because... So
first minute of the podcast, they start talking about crypto. And they talk about crypto not for like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. They talk about crypto. Look at this.
Yeah, okay. So a few weeks ago on the pod, there was an oblique reference between me and Chamath regarding Solana.
So they're talking about crypto, and they're talking
we
about
have to
Solana.
work through with our LPs, but that's what we're going to try to do, is distribute it in kind so everyone can make their own decision.
I have a couple things.
So you got to listen to this because this is super, super important. Listen to how Chamath thinks about crypto.
To say so, I've only been a buyer. I've never, I haven't sold a single Solana token, and so we are, net buyers, and we're buying a bunch of stuff. But I hate acknowledging that.
So, first important thing, we are buying a bunch of stuff. We are buying Solana. We are net buyers. You notice that Chamath never says, okay, I'm trading the cycle, I'm taking profits here, because he thinks like I showed you in my previous episode, where you're buying these technologies now and you're holding these technologies forever. You're holding these technologies until the next cycle, because the money is not going to be made in this cycle. It's actually going to be made in the next cycle. Anyway, let's listen to how he thinks about crypto.
This is why, my tone was more non-committal when we did the pod, is that I really don't like this culture that's emerged via Twitter mostly, where you all of a sudden have to be this maximalist that basically falls on their sword and never sells in order to be legitimate. And I think that that's a really dangerous place to be. So, look, if I take a
Why is that dangerous?
Yeah. Well, if I take a much, much bigger step back, let me put Solana in the context of crypto, and let me put crypto in the context of the markets and where we are today at the end of the week after, Q3 earnings.
I mean, just before he talks about the end of the week after Q3 earnings, are you thinking what I'm thinking? We've been talking about Solana for 6 months. And now the world's most astute billionaire investors are spending, we are in minute 9:59, we're in the 10 minutes of the podcast, and all they talked about up until now was crypto and Solana. Crypto and Solana. They're not talking about ETH. They're talking about crypto and Solana. Look where the billionaire's mind shift is. Just look at where the billionaire's mind shift is. Now, listen to this because this is important.
In November of 2021, we have the stock market at absolute all-time highs.
Ripping.
We have crypto at absolute all-time highs.
Ripping.
We have the art markets. I don't know if you guys saw Phillips and Christie's and Sotheby's this past week at absolute all-time highs.
Sold another Beeple for 25 million.
We have inflation at a 30-year high. We have 10-year break-evens at a 25-year high. We have, 1 point some odd trillion dollars that we just approved last week, and we're still horse trading on another $1.8 trillion of stimulus that we're going to put in. And so then you have, I think the most important thing, which is the two most important founders of our generation, the two smartest people who have really consistently won, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, have collectively sold more than $11 billion of their holdings this year alone.
That's it.
And if you can't take all of that and decide for yourself what's right for you and your family, you're doing yourself a disservice. I think it's important for me to never sort of be forced to tell folks whether I'm buying or selling, although I'm willing to do it in moments where I think it's important. But I think it's really important to understand the context. And so I think these folks that think derisively about individuals who are managing risk, I think it's really naive. And I think it creates a lot of missed opportunity for them as well. If the smartest people in the world are now selling their core holdings that they told you they would never sell, and you are not reconsidering your position on things, you're either much smarter than them or you're being really, really reckless.
Okay. The smartest people in the world are starting to sell their company stock. Let's just get that into perspective. The smartest people in the world, the people who are building what they believe are the most revolutionary technology companies in the entire world, people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, are starting to sell their own company shares. Yes, you heard correctly. Elon Musk sold another 687 million in Tesla shares last week after shedding billions already. So he sold around $5 or $6 billion worth of Tesla stock. Imagine selling $5 billion of your own company shares. What Elon Musk is saying, he's saying, I think that there is a bubble out there, and I need to get out of the bubble, and I need to get out of the bubble, and I need to get out of the bubble into cash. He's not the only one that thinks that. You've got Jeff Bezos who's saying, look, I love Amazon, but Jeff Bezos raises $3.3 billion by selling Amazon stock this week. Okay, question is, if these guys are selling their Amazon stock and their Tesla stock, what are they going to do with the cash? So Elon Musk sold $5 billion worth of stock. What is he going to do with the cash? What is he going to do? So he might end world hunger, although I don't think that's what's going on. Okay, he did it with this poll. He said, how much of your unrealized gains are being made by tax avoidance? I propose saying 10% on my Tesla, blah, blah, blah. He had this whole argument with Bernie Sanders last night, where Bernie said he talking about tax. And then Elon Musk came and said, sometimes I forget that you're alive. Crazy stuff. And now Elon Musk is starting to talk about inflation. He says, due to inflation, 420 has gone up by 69. So his narrative is saying, there's too much inflation out there. I've got to sell some of my stock because I believe that the stock market is overhyped. Now, let me ask you a question. If you thought that the stock market was overhyped and that the bubble was about to pop, the worst place that you could be is in US dollars, right? Like, why would you You're saying that the US dollar is such a shitcoin that they're printing so much of that it's actually artificially inflating prices. And then you sell into US dollar. Nah. I mean, come on, he's not dumb. I think that Elon Musk is realizing that he has to start taking a bigger bet in Bitcoin and crypto. Because I know that he's not buying houses. I know Elon Musk is not buying houses. In fact, there was a tweet. Let me try and find this tweet for you. Yeah, let's face it. Elon Musk borrowed 88.3 million shares, sold all his mansions, moved to Texas, and he's asking Bernie Sanders whether he should sell more stock. He doesn't need cash. He just wants to sell Tesla. He doesn't need more houses. He sold his California house, or at least he put his house on the market. I don't know if it was actually sold. He doesn't need more cash to buy shit. So what is he doing with the money? I'll tell you what he's not doing with the money for sure, okay? He's not putting it into Citibank or Marcus Goldman Sachs Bank or American Express. He's not putting it there because he's only going to get 0.5% there. And if Elon Musk is sitting here and he is complaining about inflation, I don't think that someone who's talking about inflation is going to put his money into the bank at 0.4% and 0.45%. I think if Elon Musk was seriously smart, what he would do is he would go and put money into Luna because he could get 7.3% plus he could get the airdrops. But on a serious note, I think that Elon Musk is actually going to start moving much more into crypto. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, about a week, thinking, if Elon Musk is actually starting to sell and billionaires are actually starting to sell, they don't want to sit on cash, which is depreciating. I mean, if you've got $5 billion, there's nothing you can buy. You can buy islands and shit, but I don't think that Elon Musk is buying an island. I really think that a big part of that is actually going into crypto. And it's all billionaires because you're having a shift again. Billionaires are shifting their mindset saying, we can't back our own companies anymore. Elon Musk says, I can't back Tesla anymore because there's so many US dollar shitcoins in the world that the price is being artificially inflated and this bubble has to pop. And when the bubble pops, where do you think the billionaires want to be? I can tell you, they don't want to be in US dollars. And that's why I think that if Elon Musk is selling $5 billion worth of stock, some of that, $1 billion, is going to go into crypto. It may go into Bitcoin, it may go into Ethereum, or he may actually get smart and go into UST. And I mean, speaking about smart people going into UST, have you guys been following Kwon's tweets? This guy, I mean, you actually can't even keep up with the tweets. He starts off tweeting, and we're talking about days here, not weeks. We're talking about days. I got to show you this. So let me go further back. Here we go. UST supply, 3.8 billion, November 12th. Whoosh. Let's fast forward. November 12th, 4 billion. Fast forward. Saying, I mean, tweets a lot. November 13th, $4.5 billion. You're talking about the UST supply increasing so exponentially. Now remember, every time they increase UST, they have to burn Luna. Yes, every time that they increase the UST, they have to buy Luna. So not only do you get the appreciation when they buy Luna, but you also get 7.3% staking rewards. And you know what else you get? You also get the airdrops. You get airdrops in all the new projects if you stake your Luna. So again, I think that there's a massive shift. I think that billionaires are starting to shift their mindset. And I think their mindset is going to start getting out of the financial markets and starting to get much more into crypto. And when you talk about billionaires and crypto, listen to how they think when they talk about crypto, because listen to how Chamath actually values tokens. Let me try and find this for you. I think it's about here.
Person's opinion is can't do much of anything.
Right. I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, I'd like to give my opinion on Solana, but the thing, or just crypto in general, the thing that's like hard about it is that it's hard to talk about the benefits of, say, the Solana blockchain without being seen as a pumper of Sol or a dumper of ETH or whatever, because all these things are so intrinsically connected. I mean, I learned a lot of really bullish things about Solana, at this conference. I mean, the biggest thing is, I mean, there's basically a battle for the hearts and minds of developers going on right now between Solana and Ethereum. That's why Solana has raced up to, over 200. I don't know what, like 7,000% increase or something incredible like that. The reason is because Solana as a blockchain gives confirmations back in something like 400 milliseconds.
Fast forward a little bit just that you guys can hear.
Believers, but their view is that Solana over the next year will flip Ethereum.
So he says, listen, you follow the development power. Now, listen to how Chamath, who's in my mind one of the smartest investors in the world.
There's real
to your
companies
point,
being created.
we spend a lot of time actually before we do anything. That's the only thing we've been looking at, and
the only thing.
Syndica, Fractal, a lot of the stuff that we've done, DeSo, is purely driven by developer interest. When we see developers in the open source ecosystem building things on top of this stuff, making stuff that's composable and usable by other people and building infrastructure, we don't really second guess that because they are spending the most important currency, which is not monetary capital, but human capital.
Yeah, their time, their skill.
Their time and their skill and their reputation.
Apply to another project, yeah.
And so when enough developers, so I've always thought you just follow the developers, and as more and more projects get started, you just have to unemotionally support that. I think the writing is on the wall, which is Bitcoin is gold, Ethereum looks like it's trending to be silver, and Solana could be the first, but there will be others that come.
Solana. I don't know if you guys understood what we just heard there. The valuation metric that the big billionaires use is not how many transactions, how many TPS, how many transactions are happening, how much TVL. They look at one metric. Where is the brain power moving to? Now, in 2017, the brain power was all moving to Ethereum. And that's why Ethereum had an explosion. Now, in 2021, the brain power is moving to other blockchains. The brain power is moving to Solana. The brain power is moving to NFTs and into games. Now, I want you to listen to this. Listen to this, where Chamath actually mentions a token that we've been speaking about since July.
I'm after it, of real developer ecosystems that can be built on top of it. The other thing that I would offer up to people for them to think about is, before you blindly go and rush into crypto, one way in which I try to think about these things is in the following way. You see these projects get started all the time, and I would view each of these projects as a mini economy and really try to think, what is the economic value of what's happening under the hood? So simple example, Helium is an interesting project that's trying to build a completely decentralized, 5G infrastructure, right? Render is a really interesting project that's trying to build a completely decentralized, graphical processing infrastructure. Right?
So Chamath's talking about Render. Now, I understand why he's talking about. I'm talking about why I understand why Chamath's talking about Helium. Helium is a massive project with a massive cap. But Chamath is talking about Render. Now, listen to the clues here, because you can see that Chamath has a very, very, very deep knowledge of what Render does. He doesn't just know the surface level. He actually knows a lot about what Render does.
GPUs, essentially. In both of those things, you can quantifiably, economically measure what the value is that people get, right? In the case of Render, you're basically displacing an AWS instance. And so that has a price and a value. And so, for Render to be valuable, there's an economic value that it replaces. If you're joining a hotspot, that has an economic value where you hadn't necessarily have to pay, to get internet connectivity. If you all of a sudden are on the Helium network.
Because, let's again wrap our minds around this. You have the 4 smartest investors in the world who do their podcast. For the first 16 minutes of their podcast, all that they have spoken about here is they've spoken about crypto, Solana, Render, and Helium. That's what they've spoken about in the first 15 minutes. Now, remember, we brought Helium to you, Render to you guys. Here's the show, 8th of July, 2021. I remember that the penny dropped for me on the 8th of July, 2021, and I said, who the hell is going to render the metaverse? I woke up and I said, who's going to render the metaverse? What they are allowing, what they are creating now is they're taking, like FileCoin takes file storage, they are taking rendering power, and they're letting anybody use this network to render. So if you look at the picture over here, the user requests a job, pays in render token through a project. Knew that NFTs were going to take off as much as NFTs were going to take off. And I think now, with all these amazing animations that need to happen, they're going to rely on a decentralized rendering, GPU rendering solution. And that's where I think the render token comes in. Now, the render token, market cap of under $100 million. You tell me, if NFTs take off and we can find a distributed solution for render. I mean, render was at 55 cents. Nobody was talking about it at the time. In fact, render's been quiet since 2017. And that's one of the things I said to you guys in my video where I showed you guys how I turned $35,000 into $35 million. I said, listen, guys, the projects that are going to make you the most money are the ones that you hold from the previous cycle into the next cycle when you actually give them enough time to do what they're supposed to be doing. Nobody spoke about render for years because render did nothing, because it was positioning itself for the next revolution, which happened, which was NFTs. And then it went from nobody talking about render. I mean, let's quickly go and look at the render price. Let me quickly find a render chart for us. I don't even know if we'll be able to find a render price. That's how bad I think it is. So let's quickly look at RNDR. Okay, it's on Kucoin, so we can find it on Kucoin. Okay, let's look at the render price for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Months and months and months, years. In fact, this is a daily chart. I think what we'll do is actually let's go to a weekly chart, and you guys can see for where render was. This only takes you back to 2021, unfortunately. But render did nothing. Yeah, let's look at it here. We can look at it here. Let's go to RNDR. And let's quickly look at the render price. Let's go back to the maximum that we can go back to on CoinGecko. Look at that. The whole of 2017 and it doesn't even go back that far. 7 cents, 7 cents, 7 cents, 7 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, 13 cents. Nobody looked at render. Nobody looked at render. Nobody looked at render. It had a spike when NFT started because people realized that somebody has to render the metaverse. And then it came down. And round about here, that's where we introduced it to you guys on the 8th of July. And now everybody's talking about it. Billionaires are talking about it. Not only are billionaires talking about it, but I mean, this was Raj, who's the founder of Solana. Listen to what he said.
So I mentioned some of these incredible builders. I really think everyone should go watch Jules' speech. Jules from Render is going to change the world. If you didn't see what he's working on and what he's built and what he's using Solana for, it is photorealistic real-time rendering of anything, any 3D model using a distributed set of GPUs all over the world with a token to access it. It's basically like, what is the cost of a virtual photon and ray tracing. And it's going to be, I think, the basis for a metaverse that is
So that's it. That's exactly it. From nobody talking about it, the narrative changes. The narrative changes into this metaverse, this decentralized metaverse. And people start saying, hold on, if we're going to have a metaverse and we're going to have NFTs, we don't want to store them on centralized servers at AWS. And so the whole narrative shifts, and there we get another shift. There is a massive shift in the narrative now, and the shift in the narrative is around Web3. Web3 is, for me, the new narrative that we're about to see. And that narrative's already started. Remember, I said to you that if we want to create a decentralized web, a web that is not centralized and living on AWS and stored on AWS and living on all these centralized computer operators, then we need to have all the building blocks for Web3. And what Render did was it actually changed the whole narrative. And it started a Web3 narrative. Now, Jason Yanovitz, who was with me in Lisbon, who was there, tweeted and said, the future of the browser, right now, Web3 wallets like MetaMask plug into DeFi applications. In the future, they'll plug into every website in the world. Websites are broken. Your data, your personal data, credit cards, address, birthday, email addresses are stored on hundreds of private databases. This creates a honeypot for hackers. Okay? According to some guy, my credit card and address have been stolen 10 times plus. Soon you'll be able to use a USDC through a Web3 wallet, and I think he's wrong here. I think soon you'll be able to use a stablecoin which is decentralized, not centralized. You'll use a decentralized stablecoin in a Web3 wallet like MetaMask to make e-commerce purchases. This is far more efficient and secure than creating new accounts every time on the website. But ultimately, it's boring. Okay, so he goes on this whole rant. I then went on to my Twitter and I said, guys, I think that the metaverse and actually Render has actually triggered a new narrative. And the new narrative is actually the Web3 narrative. And if the Web3 narrative is created, then we need to create a new internet that is completely decentralized. That means that we need a whole lot of building blocks to create the new internet. What do you need? As I explained to you before, you need computing. Computing is power. It's computing power. Then you need, and for computing, we're looking at a couple of them. We're looking at Render, we're looking at Akash, we're looking at AOS. I know there's also Flux. So Flux is another one. The reason why I haven't added Flux into this is because if I look at the chart of Flux, it just looks super scary to me. It's very difficult for me to say that I'm interested or to get you guys into a chart that's done something like this. Although I do think that the technology behind Flux is super, I just haven't done enough calculations to see what the price of Flux is, to see whether there is a lot of value in Flux. Let's go back to it. So what else do we need to create a decentralized or a decentralized web? Well, we need decentralized money. And decentralized money for me right now, the winning money is going to be UST. You then need decentralized storage because it's pointless having decentralized computing and decentralized money and then storing it all on Microsoft Azure or fucking Alibaba Cloud where the Chinese government can switch you off in 1 fucking second, right? It's bullshit. You can't do shit like that. So what do? You need decentralized storage. Now, when it comes to decentralized storage, I think it's either going to be FileCoin, which wins, or Arweave, which wins. But actually, I think it's actually going to be Arweave, and I'll tell you why. FileCoin takes the AWS model and says you pay per meg or per gig or per terabyte per month or per year. So you pay per something per time, right? So one something per time. The issue that I have with that is it's taking a traditional model. It's taking a traditional model and it's bringing it onto the blockchain. And I always say that blockchain is about creating new types of business models and new types of financial models. And taking an old AWS model and migrating it to blockchain is great. And it's step one. And Filecoin has done really well. But what Arweave does is Arweave lets you pay once and store forever. And that's why someone says, yeah, I've called Arweave since it was $1. I still think Arweave is undervalued. Let's go back to this Web3 narrative. Then you've got Coldstack. Now, not many people talk about Coldstack. It's a very small cap token, and it's starting to fly. And you know why it's starting to fly? Because what Coldstack does is you tell it what you want to store, and it kind of tells you where it would be cheapest and best to store it. So it's like the one interface that you use to store things on the decentralized web. And that's why I think a lot of people aren't looking at Coldstack. It's a small cap token. Let's quickly look at it. It's built by an unbelievable team of people that have a great track record. And okay, it's at $4, and let's see where it's come from. Let's look at the last 90 days. Okay, so that's the last 90 days. It went up to $5.41. It's now back at $4. Again, if you believe in the Web3 narrative, and the truth is that it's not about if you believe, because we all believe in the Web3 narrative. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. It's just when will this narrative work? And up until now, we've been comfortable that we can run these Web3 applications, but on Web2 servers. So on Amazon servers with Amazon computing power or stuff like that. And now the next thing for me is to decentralize that. And that's why I think it's just a matter of time for this narrative to actually start working. So it's just a matter of time before all this starts working. Argo is effectively a way for people to develop into Arweave, which makes it a whole lot simpler. It's a very, very low cap token. Don't go and blow this token up because this is a long term. The token that you buy now, it's very high risk and you just hold it forever. And it could work. I think it might actually work. So that is what we need. And then in the comments, I must give it to you guys. I am an investor in this token. I've been an investor in this token since 2017 or 2018 or 2019 or somewhere along those lines. But someone actually mentioned it and he said, what about Handshake? What about HNS? And then I thought, Handshake is something that people don't talk about because it's not really like a mainstream token. But what Handshake does, it was created by a guy called Joseph Pun. Now, Joseph Pun was always called the Vitalik the Asian Vitalik. So like he's an Asian guy, very smart guy. And they always used to call him the Asian Vitalik. Now, what Handshake does is Handshake is the decentralized naming and certificate authority. So, like you've got DNS in traditional internet. Well, the Handshake creates the decentralized naming and certificate authority. And no one talks about this token. I'm not saying that you guys should ape into it. I'm saying if you believe in Web3, then these are the type of investments that you should make. I'm an investor. Full disclosure, I bought this in 2019 or 2018, and I've been holding it ever since, just because I think that these guys are super, super, super smart. And I think that this is one of the massive building blocks for Web3, and I think it's an unhyped token. Like, there's no hype. You talk about like Handshake. You've never heard people tweeting about Handshake, talking about Handshake. But I mean, how can we have decentralized addresses and not actually have a decentralized naming and certificate authority? So that is what Handshake does. And again, it is a high risk token, but it is one that I've been holding for a long time. So that's it. That's another shift. And this time it's the shift between the centralized web and the decentralized web. And it's going to be a big shift. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I do know that it's already happening. And it's like render, slowly, 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 and then super, super, super quickly. So it means that if you subscribe to my investment methodology, which is to identify narratives or tokens or protocols that you think are going to change the world, and then to sit back and give them enough help and support to actually do it, then these are the bets that you need to start placing now. Will they run in the next week or in the next month? I don't know. I'm not timing the market. I'm buying these narratives because I think if I hold them, when the narrative does change, I am going to be able to capitalize on it. And that's why I'm starting to place my bet early. I don't think that these are going to pop and do 100x's tomorrow. It's not that kind of narrative, not that kind of narrative. I do think there's one other shift that's happening, and that's moving to a ecosystem that we don't talk enough about. And I think for the rest of the week, we will spend some time talking about it. And that is Avalanche. So we don't talk enough about Avalanche. But if you look at the numbers of Avalanche, and remember, these are the superficial numbers, because you haven't heard about developers moving on to Avalanche yet. Have you heard about, hey, the new developers are moving to Avalanche? Not yet. But the superficial numbers are saying AVAX reached a new high of almost $100, TVL broke through $10 billion, daily active addresses increasing, and the highest transaction volume in a while. So this Avalanche ecosystem is now starting to explode. Somebody went and compared this to Cardano. I don't know how accurate this is, but you can see that Avalanche does have quite a vibrant ecosystem. This is the game changer for me. And I said this to you guys last time, or earlier on today. Binance listed Benki. Now, as far as I know, Benki is an Avalanche native token. Let's quickly check if it's an Avalanche native token. Because if it's an Ethereum token, that's one thing. But if it's an Avalanche native token, and we can check it here, it'll take us a second. Yeah, it's an Avalanche native token. Actually, no, hold on. It's not an it's an Avalanche native token. So if it is an Avalanche native token, just let's check it out. Then that means that Binance is starting to now add will start adding all of the Avalanche ecosystem tokens. And that's why the Avalanche ecosystem tokens all started to go up again today. Because what they saw is that Binance is starting to add all the Avalanche tokens. And I've said to you guys for a while, the easiest alpha that you can make is to buy tokens before they're listed on a big exchange. Before they start getting listed on a big exchange. And when you talk about these new and evolving chains or ecosystems, you realize that most of these chains cannot be integrated into exchanges yet. Even Cardano. Like, how many Cardano native tokens do you know that are trading on exchanges? Hardly any. So you can know that there's going to be a big ramp up of these Cardano tokens. And I think that now you're going to get this ramp up of Avalanche tokens. And you can start drilling into them by, I don't know, TVL is one good metric. So Benki has the highest TVL in the Avalanche ecosystem. Then you've got Blizzard, then you've got Trader Joe. And we'll start talking about all of these in the week, because I think it's time to really start paying attention, because I think that Binance might start listing them sooner than we think. So you want to make money, you buy them now before Binance lists them. It's almost a guaranteed bet that Avalanche is going to continue to go up. Avalanche continues to go up. So do the exchanges continue to explode. The exchanges continue to explode. Then we need to start looking at the exchanges. What are the exchanges? Well, no problem. We look at the exchanges and we say, okay, you got 3, Pangolin, Hurricane Swap, and Trader Joe. Okay, one has got a liquidity of 384 million. Trader Joe's got 134. What number is that? Okay, well, there's 4 numbers here in the comma. Okay, so you look at the total value locked: 300 million, 2.4 billion, 32 million. And you can start placing bets on the Avalanche ecosystem. Why? Because Binance has just basically said to you, look, guys, we're ready to start listing them. We're ready to start listing Avalanche native tokens. We believe in the Avalanche ecosystem. We're now going to make it available. And then what are the other exchanges going to do? Let me tell you what they're not going to do. They're not going to just like sit on their hands like this and go, all right, Binance, you can have all the people that are trading Avalanche. We're not interested. That's not what they're going to do. Not at all. What they're going to do is they're going to say, shit, if Binance is listing them, Kucoin and all the other guys have to list them if they're going to remain relevant. Then Coinbase from the US looks and goes, holy fuck, we've just missed out on this. And they come in, they come like 4 years later. So by 2027, you could expect some of the Avalanche tokens to be listed on Coinbase. And then everyone's happy and everyone makes life-changing money. And no one has to work shifts anymore because we've all identified the shifts. And so we don't have to work shifts anymore ever again. Long show, lots of information. What I think you need to do now is you need to go back. You need to watch the show again. And then just because there was a lot, I think I may have missed something. I may actually watch the show to make sure that I didn't miss any of my own trades. There's a lot of trades today. There was Handshake, there was Argo, there was Coldstack. There was a lot of stuff on the show. If you like the show, smash the like one more time. And if you don't want to smash the like for my channel because you think my content is shit, I get it. What you need to do is you need to go to this All-In podcast. I need Kelly Canis to wake up in the morning, wherever he is. I think he's in San Fran now. And I need him to go, what the fuck just happened to my channel? That's what I need. Let's see, there was 101 when we started.
Taxes, old dude.
102, where the fuck are you guys? Where is everyone? Where is everyone? Go to All In Podcast and just smash subscribe to that channel and just watch it because that's where you hear billionaires and where their share of mind is. What did you say? You want to win the Banter Bags? You want to ape in? Okay, ape into what? Ape into Banter Bags. Banter Bags 2, guys, don't forget, only for subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, you can't win. Monkey Ball was our first bag. We now have $1,000 in the bag. That's going to do 100x. That's $100,000 in the bag. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, invest well, my friends. Frederico.
Yes.
Sitting in a coffee in Scotland.
Robot Fred.
Ooh. Robot Fred in Scotland.